when I was at college and we had started looking into hair removal, I always remember one of the educators, lecturers saying, "This is sugar, we don't use it." And it was on the shelf in the back of the cupboard and it was just there. And I was like, right, okay, back of the mind it went. We never used it, didn't touch it, didn't know anything about it. And then I was doing my degree and I based all of my papers on natural and organic beauty. It was such a buzz back in 2013, 14, 15. I think I went to uni. And I did. I focused all of my papers, anything that I had to do any reports on, it was on that topic. And I was searching the internet to find some form of a reference that said that organic wax was better for the body. I was like, it's got to be somewhere. Like, who said it and why? And I couldn't find anything anywhere. And I came across sugaring. And I remember emailing over saying, can you just tell me if this wax is organic? And they were like, well, this isn't actually a wax, this is sugar. And I was like, oh, what's sugar? And they told me all about it. And that was my first sort of real introduction into it. And it wasn't until later down the line that I realized that I'd actually heard about it before, but I just never actually got taught anything about it. And it was only when I realized that sugar paste was this natural organic product and sugar, water, and lemon juice. And I was like, oh my gosh, how have I not ever known before now that wax was man-made and a resin? I mean, it always smells beautiful and it always looks funky colors, but I just never put the two things together. I just presumed that, like most things, you can get a natural cleanser and you can get an organic cleanser, or you can, you know, and I just never put the two bits together. And that was really my first time at having that light bulb moment going, oh my gosh.
I had a client, I was waxing at
Yeah.
the time, and I had a client, she would come and get her legs done, and every single time she would break out. So, in like hives, like an allergic reaction to it. So, I was like, oh, let me try this. Because she really didn't want to shave. She had very sensitive skin. Even shaving was irritant to her. So I was like, okay, let me try and find a sensitive wax, but wax for sensitive skin. Tried that, still didn't work. Looked into, I think, is it rosin? Like there's a particular ingredient that's in elastoplasts that people can be allergic to, and that's in a lot of waxes. So tried to find one without that. She reacted to every single one. She was like, it's just not for me. I'm just going to have to either be hairy or put up with shaving. And you, as a when your
Yeah.
expertise is hair removal, you're like, no, there must be a way. There must be a way. So
After that reaction, it's like great for a few weeks again. Yeah.
exactly. So I was like, there must be a more natural solution that's not going to irritate our skin. So of course, Googled natural forms of hair removal, came across sugaring, spoke to Stephanie King, who was at the time London Sugaring Company. And after speaking to her on the phone, her passion and enthusiasm for it just had me sold instantly. I was like, right, when can I travel to you? Take my money. I need this in my life. And thank God I did, because it transformed the business completely. So initially it was to be able to remove people's hair who had these skin sensitivities. That was my priority. Later down the line, what became more important to my clients as well as me was the environmental aspect of it as well, that I didn't really consider at first. And I don't think a lot of my clients did. It was like, I want this hair gone. I
Yep.
don't care how you get it off or what you use, just get rid of it. And I feel like there's been a real shift now in terms of people want more ethical, environmentally friendly, cleaner, more natural methods of beauty and hair removal.
And basically, my journey before I had a studio, I was working mobile, and a lot of my clients had followed me from place to place. And one of these clients just so happened to get my number indirectly, didn't know it was me. I turned up and I was actually using wax at the time, and she was really happy because she'd got a sensitive skin, and the wax that I used was probably the best wax that she could find. You know, she had to use certain shampoo for her hair and she loved being carefree. The wax was okay. She would get some form of a reaction, as we would probably describe it as like a histamine response. And throughout me seeing her, I was then transitioning. So I learned to sugar and I was opening the new studio. And as I transitioned to the studio, it was only going to be sugaring from then on. And I thought that my clients had all known this, you know, the emails that were sent out. Anyway, this one day, this said client had come to the studio and she was filling out the consultation form, read everything about sugaring. She'd signed everything, ticked everything, and she said, I'm just checking, I'm still having wax, aren't I? And my heart sunk. There wasn't an inch of wax in my studio. And my heart sunk. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I said, everything that I now do is sugar. And she was going on holiday, like practically the next day. So she got a full body of hair that needed to be removed. She was going on holiday. She was stressing that she was now going to have this reaction to this new product. And the only thing I could do was say, I'll just obviously cancel you out and I'm really, really sorry. And she was then in the predicament if she either went and shaved or she went and had this new treatment. So I will say she begrudgingly decided to go ahead with the treatment. And I was sugaring the back of her body. The room was silent. There was no conversation. And I felt like you could hear a penny drop. And for me, that felt so awkward because we're normally chatting. And basically, I just turned around and said, look, I've done the backs of your legs. Give me some feedback. How are you feeling? You know, I can stop at any time. And she did this. I was like, oh no. And she went, it's bloody brilliant, isn't it? And because she was face down, I did like a little happy dance. I was like, yes. And she turned over and we did the sugaring and it was brilliant. She went on holiday and I heard nothing. Obviously, she was enjoying a holiday. And for me, I was like, oh, I hope everything is okay. Is she not gotten in contact with me because she's having an awesome time? Or has it gone terrible? Now, I knew there was nothing in this product that could irritate, but there was just that it was that first time that I'd had any conflict. So I just dropped her a message and I said, look, you don't need to be in touch with me. I'm just checking everything's okay. And she's like, yeah, everything's good. Again, it was quite short and I still didn't know what to do. So she came in about 6 weeks later and we were just doing the Brazilian. And she was like, what have you done to me? And again, my heart sunk. I was like, oh my God, this is a story that keeps making me sad. And there was no hair. No hair had come back on this Brazilian. I reckon we had about 6 hair strips down the Brazilian strip line. And that is how, for her, it continued for the next few years. Almost no hair. Now, I do tell this story to my clients and to students, and I do say that that doesn't always happen. We do get the reduction, but you know, I've not had many clients with complete like just the hair basically just went, that's it, I'm not coming back. And that was it. But what a lot of my clients have noticed is, you know, you explain the process, we explain what's going to happen, they get onto the bed, they see us take out that clean glove into the sugar and apply it, and then they very quickly cotton on to the fact that we're not back and forth. We're not putting our hands back into the pot, there's no strips. We're just there and we're chatting and we're like with them and focused. And for a few seconds, I always sort of wait now and I just sort of wait and I can see that penny drop with them and they kind of go, oh, you're still using the same piece. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And that for them is, first off, it's just strange because we're just there focused. And then when you start to say to them that actually it's so much more environmentally friendly and it's so much more hygienic and there are less consumables and there is no waste. And they start to see that and it starts to create this bigger picture. And then before they realize it, they maybe didn't walk in the door looking for something environmentally friendly, but they walk out feeling like they've done their bit. They've been able to get the results, but they're doing a bit for the environment. And I do love when I see that part unfold. It's lovely.
Yeah, I agree. It is like a happy byproduct almost, isn't it? If somebody
Yeah.
wants all the hair gone. And I'm not harming the environment in the process. So it's a win-win. I feel like there are just no negatives to sugaring, which is why I transferred completely over from waxing, because I couldn't pitch waxing as a service anymore when I knew there was something that was better in every aspect.
It's like you had the blinkers taken off, and once you've had that experience, you can't. I always say this, we're here to advise. We're not a salesperson. We advise to try and help somebody either enhance their results, enhance their appearance, whatever it is that they're wanting from us. And for me to then make somebody have waxing when I know the benefits of the sugaring, it feels like waxing would be a sales pitch because
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them to have something. Whereas the sugaring is just like, why would you not? Like, it ticks all of the boxes. It
Mm.
almost feels criminal for me. I'm not saying that, there might be quite a few waxers on here listening, and it's not me saying waxing's bad. Everybody has their options. But for me, when I saw those benefits, it felt I felt like I was lying to people to say to have waxing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, it just feels a lot more authentic and I think that attracts clients in return as well, because you can talk about these things and say, it's cruelty free, it's vegan friendly, vegetarian friendly, it's better for the environment, nothing's going to landfill. When you can genuinely,
Plant a tree.
it's what?
We plant a tree.
And we plant a tree for every order.
I've been telling so many clients about this at the minute. So yeah, we plant
That's
trees.
typical that I would forget that bit as well.
I love that part though. I do. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's important for me to walk the walk and talk the talk. And if I'm saying that my business is environmentally friendly, I really want it to go down that route and demonstrate that. So there's over 100. I think we're up to about 120 trees now, which is exciting.
That oxygen.
Yeah.
One of those moments where for students, I like to say, I've been there as well. It can be daunting making that swap and making that change. And you know in your heart of hearts that this product is so good, but just seeing that skin sensitivity, and it's not always even on our level, it can be for clients if they've got skin trauma, for them to go and change is a big deal.
Yeah.
For them to go and put themselves out there, maybe their eyebrows or underarms, and being so sore and so red and so uncomfortable. And I like that we share these stories with our students. We're sharing it now. We share it in the treatment room when we are training. Couldn't think of the word. And I just think it's really important to understand the skin reactions and, or as we would like to say, a skin response or histamine response.
Yeah, well, speaking on the back of that with the training with skin responses, that was something that I think it was mentioned in my manual when I trained in waxing, and I won't say where I trained or who with because that's not fair. But I did travel to go to the best in
The area.
the best in the industry, and it definitely wasn't covered in class. It may have been covered in the manual, but I'm,
Just
I,
adverse reaction.
yeah, but I wouldn't have known if it had have happened. I didn't feel confident to say, okay, this has happened because of this, and not to worry because this is what we can do, or this is what you can do. I don't feel like I had that training at all. But at Green and Gold, it's really important to me and the rest of the team that our students and our therapists understand what reactions can occur when we're sugaring, and that it's not necessarily your fault as a therapist. It's not necessarily the fault of the sugar. It's a natural response from the skin in terms of having hair extracted, and then you can give your client that reassurance that I understand what's happening to your skin here, and explaining that to them rather than them having a reaction. You go, oh, that doesn't look very good. They walk out the door and they're like, what's she done to me? And then they go and tell everybody, like, look at the state of my skin. You know, that can all be avoided.
And it is avoided because we talk about it in the consultation with clients before they even have the treatment. We talk about it during the treatment so that they don't go away. We give as much information as possible. There is nothing worse than going home, having no information, no aftercare, and then being like, oh, what's this? And me going, well, yeah, that can happen. Doesn't fill you with any sort of warmth or comfort, but knowing that we have touched base on it so many times, when they go home, if anything then did happen, oh, said this, they did say this might happen, no problem. She told me to drop her an email and I know what to do with it, or it'll go down. And then there's reassurance in knowing that the therapist actually understood what could happen beforehand and why. It's not just always what it is, but you also need to know why it's happening. And I do feel that, I suppose that's where it is. We evolved, don't we? We had standard training back in the day, which was, I suppose, the training that was given out across the board. I mean, I worked with awarding bodies, so did you. It was just a standardization of information. It's only when you start to delve in it yourself that, or you've come across experiences yourself, that you start to build up and give that information. And that's what we're about. We're about evolving and filling in the gaps that we never had.
Yeah, and that ongoing help and support and coaching and guidance is part of the Green and Gold Collective, so that we've got that hub where everybody, we can all talk about things. Like I had this client in today and her hair was like this, or her skin was like this, and have you guys ever come across this? It's a very open, frank and honest, and there'll always be one of our educators in there or moderators to answer questions and to troubleshoot. I'm in there most of the time.
Well,
um,
back
that's
end of
the added that's the added bonus again of Green and Gold, where we don't just train you up and, you know, bare minimum, okay, thanks, that's your fee, there's your training, bye now.
no.
We're there for the long haul, and that it doesn't cost anything for our therapists, for our students to be in the Green and Gold Collective. It's just something that we offer as a company because it's important to have that standard of education and support ongoing to set sugaring apart as well. You know, that it's not waxing. It really grinds my gears when people call it sugar waxing. It is not waxing. It's hair removal. That's the only similarity. But we really want to excel and be experts in our field at hair removal and skin and hair and everything associated with it.
Yeah, because like you've just said, it's not just hair removal. It is hair, but it is skin, it is anatomy, it's the physiology of the body, it's the circulatory system, it's the blah, 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 musculoskeletal.
Musculoskeletal.
Yeah, I was like, which one is that? But we can put this one in the video as well. I'll look forward to this bit being there, just the bloopers of me. You know, you're welcome. But there's so many elements. It is not just put product on, take product off. And I think that's where the education almost was years ago. Put this on, take this off. There you go.
Done. Yeah.
No, it's not how we do things.
It isn't how we do things. So after I'd done my training in sugaring, I had all of these waxing clients, and my bread and butter was Brazilians and Hollywoods. So I kind of cherry picked my clients who I knew were more robust in terms of pain and tolerance as a fresh out the box sugarista. I was like, okay, I need to be careful here and choose my clients who maybe aren't too hairy, have been coming to me for quite a while, and who I know have good tolerance of pain, because I'm not going to be perfect. I've just trained up in this skill, but I'm still practicing. So that's what I did. And it was quite the learning curve, because you're doing everything in the opposite way. The sugar goes on against the direction of hair, and we remove it in the direction that the hair grows, which is opposite of waxing. So that's a shift in mindset.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you're actually doing it with with your gloved hand.
And trying to have a conversation whilst
Yeah.
holding it
And
still.
not drop it on the floor. But I also struggled with not having the spatula because I felt like the spatula gave you that sort of barrier.
Yeah,
You weren't directly,
in
you know,
contact.
yeah, like you weren't spreading the wax on with your fingers. You were doing it with it. Whereas with sugar, you are using your fingers. So that was a change. So there were a lot of things to get used to with sugaring, and it is a steep learning curve for anybody that signs up for the course. I never give them the illusion that this is just going to be so easy. Like you'll do a day or two's training and you will fly. No, you've got to persevere with it because it is a skill. It is an art. But once it's like the scales tipping, it's like learning, practicing. And then it goes like this, and it's like, I've got it. And you just love it. And getting like pushing past that barrier and not resorting to going back to waxing, which is your easy option because it's what you know. It's just so worth it, and you'll never look back. It really is worth persevering with that to master your skill. And especially at this stage in sugaring in the UK, you're getting in there early. You
Yeah.
you haven't the chances are anybody watching this, you're not going to have any competition for miles around. You can spearhead this in your area and be the go-to for sugaring. Others will follow as it starts to spread. But if you can get in there and be first and you're the one that's known for it in your area, oh my goodness, like the sky's the limit. It really, really excites me.
I say on training days, we all hear about like the 1 day courses, and it's not a 1 day course. You do your hands-on practical for a day, but you've already done education online prior. So you are hitting the ground running for a practical day. And then after that, you've got about realistically a month of, the more clients that you can get in, it's just building that skill and building that skill. And like you say, it does shift where it's not just come to the training day, learn to sugar, and then that's it. All of the skills that we teach, whether it's the accelerated or the essentials day, or even the advanced intimate, it's building on each and every skill in each and every area. And everything is so interchangeable where it is just taking the time. So I always think a challenge for a lot of students, and if you're obviously listening, you've gone from this waxing element where it's your bread and butter, you've got your timings, etc. And then you're going to go to sugaring. And at first it can seem quite daunting to take longer in a service. And that's a bit of a hard pill to swallow because it means you're getting less people in. But at the same time, once the clients experience that treatment and they feel the difference in their skin and they see the hair growth as being slower, straight away they automatically gravitate to wanting the sugar, knowing it's going to take that little bit longer. Your pricing for the treatment is higher, so even though that you're not maybe getting as many in, you're already higher in price. And once that speed element builds, you're getting so many more people in with a treatment that they prefer, results that last longer, and automatically it just spirals into this quicker, faster, better results. And then the word spreads, and then you're getting more people in and more people in. And before you know it, you can't even remember it's been 8 years since you last waxed, just like us.
That's it, yeah. Because I remember at first when I sugared my first few clients, and then like you said about the hair growth, the maintenance session. Normally, I would book them in. They'd come back either sort of 4 or 5 weeks later, and I would be getting messages going, "Oh, Emma, I don't really have as much hair as I normally do. Can I push my appointment back a week?" And I'd be like, "Oh, what have I done? I've done myself out of business. This works too well. It's lasting them longer." But of course, those gaps that are created, you can fill with new clients. And then all of your clients tend to come every 5 to 6 weeks instead of 4 to 5 weeks. And you can take more clients on. And you can charge that higher price because if they're coming to you less times throughout the year, over 12 months, if they're only coming for, I don't know, 8 or 9 appointments instead of 10 or 11 appointments, it's saving them money. It's pound for
Yeah.
pound, it's better value for them, even if the price of sugaring is higher than you would have charged for waxing.
And the thing is, on about pricing, I have flipped it almost. So, like, if you're a new client, you do pay more, but then when you're back in the maintenance, it's lower. I mean, there's obviously certain um factors to filter into it, to take to be that maintenance client, but then you're saving money by coming in regular. And so then clients want to stay on that maintenance phase because it's cheaper and the results are better. So, and it's surprised how many people will pay the higher price knowing that it reduces down. So, as well, structuring, and I know that can be quite a challenge to look at how to structure the business properly. But again, we definitely look into that. Well, I know as educators we do, and we will always share that information. So it's not just come in and learn. We look at the business, how you're going to implement things, looking at pricing. We make sure that we cover all of these topics, don't we?
Yeah, because we want to make sure that this service is not just profitable, because who wants to just be, oh, I hope I make enough profit just to live off of it. We show you how to make a really good income from sugaring, and not just by looking at what so and so down the road's charging for waxing and adding a couple of quid on, like
No,
actual, this is what your product is going to cost to do this service. This is what your overheads are
yeah.
for the year for your business. This is what you want to earn per hour, and we kind of work it back so that you can earn what you want to earn, including taking days off, annual leave, taking all of that into account, because being self-employed, if you don't know your figures and you don't know your costs and you don't know your overhead, is a grind. So we try and alleviate that as well.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but that isn't in beauty courses. I
Yeah.
know they say about having a business and stuff, and they'll say, you need to make sure you're charging. I got told to do a competitor analysis and look at maybe three, I know, look at three businesses around the area and factor into that. But my sugar could be a different price than someone else's wax. It could be my back garden shed and someone's got a property. Look at the price of just comparing different electrical companies right now. It makes a massive difference. And how long you've been in the business for? you
Yeah.
know, how long you are in the service. There are so many factors when we talk about financially charging the right revenue or the right costs and stuff. There's so much. I mean, we could talk business and money just as
Yes, we need a separate discussion about that, because I'm totally passionate about it, about making good money in this industry. But yeah,
yeah.
we'll keep that for another time, because it's so important, and we could talk for hours on that for sure.
Does anybody actually have any topics or challenges that they've kind of come across right now and we've not mentioned? Because if you have, obviously pop it in the comments under here and then we can bring it up in topics, going forward. It doesn't have to be a challenge, it can be a question, it can be anything. Just pop it in and we'll make sure we factor it into some of the videos.
Great idea. We'll put that on socials as well and get some Q&As going.
Absolutely.